The power to control time. The power to control time is undoubtedly the greatest of all powers. The ability to make time go faster, slow it down, make it stop, and reverse could prevent or reduce a lot of the pain we feel, or cause us to heal quickly from it. All the decisions we made impulsively in the past can be rectified, leading to better consequences in the present. We could avoid mistakes that we caused or came across by telling our past selves what to and not to do. So we could spend more time with our loved ones whose death dates we already know, or avoid their deaths altogether. You could go back to a time when dinosaurs still roamed the earth, or meet some of the greatest scientists of all time. However, every event that happened in your life needed to have happened. Everything you've experienced caused you to become the person you are. Had any of those events not occurred, or if they occurred differently, you would be a different person. According to the grandfather paradox, time travel would lead to inconsistencies emerging due to changes in the past. Think of it this way: if you were to travel to a time in which your grandfather hadn't met your grandmother, and you killed your grandfather, reality would enmash you, and you would consequently not exist. This paradox goes to illustrate how any alteration to the past can create a new reality in the present. Life is like dominoes. All events that occurred in the past influenced all events occurring now. During the Second World War, governments invested a plethora of money in science, medicine, and engineering. Because of these investments, we now have nuclear energy, better plastic surgery, better radars, computers, penicillin, the internet, and digital navigation systems. If you were to go back in time and kill Adolf Hitler before his rise to power, you would then still be using paper maps to travel from place to place. Therefore, Hitler needed to have existed. He needed to have committed his horrible atrocities for the present to be the way it is. The distant past was unpleasant but necessary. But what if you wanted to change the not so distant past? Perhaps you lost someone and would love to go back and spend more time with that person, or tell them you love them more often. Or perhaps you want to apologize for something you did to them before they died. Or maybe you found a way to prevent them from dying, and so you want to go back in time and save them. As defeatist as it may be, their deaths were also necessary. Many people became doctors or scientists because they lost someone they loved. Many of those people even made considerable breakthroughs in their fields of work. These people would undoubtedly do anything to meet their loved ones or go back in time and save their loved ones from certain death. But if they were to do that, reality would catch up with them, causing them to not have an interest in becoming doctors or scientists, thereby not making their cures, causing a large number of people to die in this period. Time should therefore not be reversed. There are too many risks and temptations when traveling back in time. Your human side will either want to save your loved ones or erase the ugly history to save the people in that period. By doing so, you'd be unintentionally changing the course of time, thereby rewriting the present. If you were to go back in time, you would need to be extraordinarily disciplined. You would need to be able to avoid any of these temptations. However, instead of reversing time, what would happen if you made it stop or slow down? If you had the power to freeze the time around you, or at least slow it down, while somehow making yourself immune to the effects, in other words, to you, time still seems to be moving at the uniform rate, though to others it appears to have frozen, you should hypothetically be able to have more time to think decisions through, fix problems, have more time to study, and more time to escape certain situations. You should hypothetically perceive everything around you as either taking place exceedingly slow or completely halted. However, if we look at the ability to stop time realistically, every particle in the universe would stop moving because speed is equal to distance divided by time. Therefore, time is equal to distance divided by speed. To make time equal to 0, you would have to derive speed to a limit as speed approaches infinity. In other words, your velocity has to be incredibly fast. If this were true, you would need to be traveling much faster than the speed of light. In other words, you would need to break the laws of physics. Let's say you were somehow able to do this. You would need to create a sort of bubble around you, inside of which time continued at its natural rate. Whilst outside of the bubble, time freezes because if you didn't make this bubble, you wouldn't be able to realize that time has stopped because the neurons wouldn't be moving either. You also wouldn't see anything because photons moving at the speed of light would also be made stagnant. The same could be said about wave particles, so you wouldn't be able to hear anything either. You wouldn't be able to move and therefore breathe either, due to every particle in your body freezing, so you wouldn't be able to cheat in tests and exams. So unless you create a bubble around you before you use this ability, you would be deaf, blind, motionless, and eventually you'd suffocate and die. If you slow down time, however, the lights would shift to the realm of infrared microwaves. These waves can reach your eyes, though you can't see them. Sound waves would drop to a frequency you can't hear. So again, you would need to make a bubble that would make you immune to all these impracticalities. If you had this ability, people around you would perceive you as traveling rapidly. Perhaps they may not even see you moving at all if you slowed down time to a very stagnant rate. With this ability, you could be like the Flash, but better, moving at inconceivable speeds. But unlike the Flash, you would only be moving at your normal speed, just perceived as moving at his velocity by the world around you. With this power, you would be the most formidable person alive. Depending on your intentions, you could be a hero, a villain, or both. Or you could use your power to selfishly only help those close to you, whilst leaving others to their own devices. If you had this ability, tribulations would arise in which you attempted to use this power for selfish gains. By no fault of our own, life often puts us in positions that entice us to do evil. The actions you choose once you have these powers will largely be influenced by your current situation. You may want to alleviate yourself or someone you love from current hardships. There's no predicting what you would do. Furthermore, what would happen if your ability extended to allow you to speed time up? Your ability could allow you to not suffer long from current misery because you could speed up time to a period in which you overcame the pain. But if you do this, you're essentially killing the opportunity for you to learn vital life lessons. Pain teaches us tolerance. If you just speed up the healing process, you will become a weak coward in the end, always scurrying through your issues instead of facing them. Time is moving at a pace that is healthy for our well-being. Any alteration could cause catastrophic outcomes. What would happen if you decided to go to the future instead? If you decided to go to the future, you would encounter temptations with tremendous difficulty to resist. You would be exposed to futuristic technology, medicine, ideology, and knowledge. When you return to your own time, you may want to make a profit from these revelations. You may try to reverse engineer the technology and invent it in the present as your own. You may discover a cure from the future as your own. You may teach the futuristic ideology as your own, or you may use the knowledge from the future to predict the lottery numbers or the stock price. So, if you could go to the future, be exceptionally disciplined, or just don't go entirely. Time is one of the many things that fascinated me throughout my life. I'd make decisions impulsively and wish I could go back and make better decisions that were well evaluated and well calculated to afford me a better present. My inaptitude to reverse time frustrated me invariably. It is what drove me to idolize physics and calculus. I told myself that surely there must be a way to control time. Perhaps I can begin thinking of mechanisms to alter the course of time now, and sometime in the future someone will continue and conclude my research and come back to my period and tell me that my dream has been fulfilled. But then it hit me. My present would be that person's past. If he or she were to visit my time, he or she would be altering their present by revealing futuristic technology to me, leading me to be too ambitious and greedy, causing me to reverse engineer the technology and steal their invention as my own. Or I could be a good-hearted person and congratulate them for the extraordinary innovation. Either way, time will be altered because now I'm aware of information from the future that I shouldn't be aware of. Let's say, however, that in addition to the power to control time, you also put down some ground rules, enlisting all the things to and not to do. Perhaps one that looked like this. When traveling to the past, don't do anything that could threaten either your existence or the existence of anyone else. Don't try to change the events of the past, even if they were unpleasant, because they led to your present. Don't try to warn or save lost loved ones from their own deaths. When slowing down or freezing time, don't use this ability for evil. That is, don't commit crimes with this ability. Don't use this ability for good either, because life needs a balance of good and evil. If you use your ability to eliminate evil, you would be causing an imbalance. I'll make a video in the future in which I dive deeper into this topic, so subscribe if you're interested. Don't use this ability for selfish reasons. When speeding up time, don't use this ability to numb pain or rush the healing process. When visiting the future, don't return to the present and try to invent and make a profit from the technology you saw in the future. Don't use the knowledge from the future for your own worldly gains. To summarize all these rules, don't time travel. If ever you attained the power to control the course of time, it would serve you and those around you best if you didn't use it. There are too many rules to heed and you'd likely be coached to break a few of them. After all, you are human. You have emotions that will likely obscure your judgment and you will do something that you believe is right at that moment but end up causing catastrophic changes to time. Rather than time traveling, relish the time you have now. Make good of it. Do things you won't regret in the future, thereby eliminating the need for you to go back to the past and rectify your present. Life isn't supposed to be perfect. You will encounter problems and emotional distress along the way. But even under such circumstances, try to find a little happiness.